Welcome to episode number 2 of Linx-AS's PLMin10, Product Labeling and SAP Recipe Development. Today we're going to take a look at generating ingredient statements, nutritional fact panels, and more, and get you up to speed on the latest labeling capabilities within SAP Recipe Development. To get to our label sets, we're going to navigate from the Recipe Developer workspace under the left-hand navigation of labels, and we're going to select Change Label to look at an existing label set that we have in the system. Here we've pulled up an example label set for nacho cracker cookies. The name itself consists of the output specification, followed by the alternate, followed by the version. Of the important things you'll note here is that we can define the data of origin for this label set. You can choose any output specification or valid recipe within the system. We can also select the languages on the header level which we're going to be using for the label set. And these are used in conjunction with target locations that we'll be taking a look at in the label definition. Under the label definition tab, you're really constructing the guts of the product label. Everything from the ingredient statement to allergen or lifestyle statements to the nutritional fact panels. But before you do that, you can also apply some global definition to the product label. Under global definition, we have target location. This allows you to identify or differentiate label content for different countries or geographical areas. You now have the power to generate multiple labels in multiple languages for multiple regions using a single object in the system. In addition to this, we can also add statements. You have both marketing statements and general footnotes. You can select from any number of statements from a configurable list. Now we move on to the ingredient label. Under ingredient label, you're defining the ingredient statement for your product. If you want to define different date of origin for the ingredient statement, you can do that here. We're just going to work with the recipe that we've been working with. And you can see that the ingredients flow in down here. Now we can generate a draft of the ingredient statement pulling from the recipe simply by clicking Generate, and we can do that in multiple languages if we're actually maintaining the data. So here's our draft ingredient statement. The text that flows in below, you can edit and overwrite the information. To show another feature within recipe development, we're going to show how we can take two ingredients and combine them. For example, in a situation of reconstitution. So then we can show the ratio of each of the ingredients and then recalculate the new proportion. And then we can provide a name for that combination. So we'll go to the drop down and select a name, and we'll choose leavening. And then we add that to our ingredient statement. And to get it to show up, we'll hit Generate. And now it shows up as a parenthetical on our ingredient statement. Now as we experiment and within labeling, any changes we make we can easily undo. Click the undo link. And generate again. One last feature we're going to take a look at is the ability to take an ingredient that has a composition of its own, that is another formula or recipe that makes up the ingredient, and exploit that within the recipe and add that to our ingredient statement as a parenthetical. So we've taken the nacho cheese seasoning 55, and you can see the ingredients within that ingredient. And now we're going to generate the label, the ingredient statement, and there it is, added to the ingredient statement as a parenthetical. And you can do that on multiple levels as well. So that's an example of some of the functionality within the ingredient label or ingredient statement generation. Now we're going to take a look at the qualitative label. This is used for generating allergen or lifestyle statements. As an ingredient label, you can assign a different date of origin. and we select allergen. And from the qualitative data list, we can generate the draft as we did in the ingredient label. Using the display boxes, you can also control what data is turned on and what is turned off when you include in the generated draft. So you can see we add does not contain the soy or peanuts. We can also manually change the value proposed from the recipe or the spec when we're creating the label data. So that's just a quick look at the qualitative label. Now we're going to move on to the component label. The component label is used for generating the nutritional fact panel. And as in the other ingredient and qualitative labels, you can choose to assign another date of origin. A company may do this if they have lab-tested nutritional values in the spec and they prefer to use those instead of the calculated values from the recipe. That's an example where you may want to assign a different date of origin. As you can see here under measures, you can assign the base quantity for the calculations. Here we have it at 100 grams. You can also assign alternative display quantities as well as servings per container. You can see the values from the nacho cracker recipe displaying here. And now we transfer those calculated values to the nutritional fact panel. It's worth noting that there are separate rounding rules maintained per nutrient for nutritional values. We can also add an RDA profile for calculating nutritional contribution to a predefined diet. So we have a 2,000 calorie diet here, and we click OK. See that the calculated RDA values are in the specification, and when we transfer those to the fact panel, again you can see that there's different rounding rules for each nutrient. And then you can manually overwrite values or assign phrases. You can also do this for nutritional calculations as well. So that's an overview of the component label. Now we're going to move from label definition to the package label. What you're doing within the package label section is consolidating all the previous objects you've been working on. The nutritional fact panel, the ingredient statement, allergen and lifestyle statements, and based on your target locations, you're putting them together for preview within predefined PDF-based templates. Once you have your list defined and you've toggled on and off display as you desire, you can go in and select a PDF template from the system and generate a preview. Now the system is delivered with several templates, but you can develop custom templates using Adobe Document Services. Again, this is just for preview purposes. This isn't for printing of the actual artwork. Again, we'll just zoom in here quick, show you the values that were actually in the system or showing up dynamically within the PDF document. Now if we toggle over to the General Data tab, you'll see that we can export all of our label data to XML. So now we have the enterprise data, the data that was on the spec, on the recipe, and we can collaborate with artwork houses, designers who are actually doing the creation of the label artwork, can then dynamically import this information without rekeying. Again, reduce compliance risks. We can share it in other ways internally within websites. However we want to use it, we have the actual data from the spec or recipe. And that's PLMin10. Thank you for joining Linx-AS.